Okay, we're back, and just like with the negative information and detail questions, we are combining the tricks and the traps and the master skills into one video. The reason for that is because this one doesn't have a lot of, it has no tricks, really, and it only has one trap, and the master skills are pretty straightforward, so let's get to it. Now, as far as the tricks and the traps here, as I stated, this particular question type really doesn't have any tricks. There's one which might be a partial trick, and I'll get to that, but I'm going to cover that in the master skills. But really just feel happy about the fact that there really aren't any things that the makers of the exams are doing to try to trick you with this question type. So that's awesome. All right, the next one. There is a trap. Now, what's the difference between a trick and a trap? A trick is something that they purposely do to try to make you mess up. Now, they might say that's not true, but it's true. That's one of the reasons why they have tests, to see if you can find the tricks and avoid the traps. The trap here is something that they assume that you might do. If they didn't consciously do this, they did a great job of accidentally doing it. And the trap here is in thinking that you're going to be following the same techniques as with the other types of questions that you've done so far. So, like I mentioned in the summary video, you're not going to be looking for factually true information, at least not to find the answer, like you did in the factual information and detail questions, and also with the negative information questions. You're also not looking for the negative information or the false information to find the correct answer. You are using those two things, and only those two things, to eliminate all the possible wrong answers, so that the only answers that are left are the correct answer or answers. So first of all, just to summarize what I just said, if it's factually true information which was stated in the reading passage, it's not the answer. If it is factually incorrect information, that's also not the answer. So how do we handle this as far as the master skills? We already saw a little bit of the strategy on how to handle this, but let's go over the master skills. So once again, these are dealing with the strategy. First, you have to identify that it is indeed an implied or inferred meaning question. You do that by seeing the word imply, infer, or suggest. And it says here in any of the grammatical forms. You might see that in other places in this course. What that means is, instead of imply, it might say implied, infer, inferred, suggest, suggested. Okay, so that's what I mean there. If you see any of those words in the question stem, you know that it is an implied or inferred meaning question, and then you automatically switch into not finding true information, not finding false information, but finding the answer choice, which is a conclusion. So once you've done that, know once again that the answer was not directly stated. Know that the answer is not anything that was directly stated. The answer is not anything which is factually wrong. The answer is the one which is a conclusion about the information that was stated. So this is where we get into the master skills. Now, if you're a confident person and you know that you've got the right technique, and you're absolutely sure that there is only one conclusion answer choice, then you can pick that answer and move on to the next one, and you don't even have to check to make sure that that is the correct answer. You saw that in one of the examples from the previous video where there was only one answer choice, which was a conclusion. That was the only one possible, so that is clearly the answer. You don't even need to read the rest of the passage to find out that that's the answer. So that can actually save you anywhere from 20 seconds to a minute, depending on the complexity of the reading passage. So that's one of the master skills. If there's only one conclusion answer choice, that is the answer. Pick it and move on. If there is more than one, like we saw in this example here about Klimt, where we had the answer choice, he was very upset, and also the one, he didn't let it stop him. Now, those were two answer choices which are conclusions, but you remember that there is one that has to be the better of the two. So if there is more than one, it is the one which is more definite. It was related to what was stated, and it's not a guess. And I'll correct that spelling error in just a second. It's the one that's not a guess or an assumption. Remember from the last video the idea that he was upset about the criticism was not implied anywhere in there. That would have just been an assumption on our part based upon our own experience, but not upon the reading passage. This one is not an assumption because it is implied by the information that followed. He was criticized, but then afterwards he achieved success, so then it is implied that he did not stop. It's not possible to achieve success after you stop doing something. Well, at least not in this particular case. So if there is more than one conclusion, it is the one which is more definite, and it's not a guess and it's not an assumption. It is related to information that was stated, but it is still a conclusion based upon that information. And as always, if you have more than 1 minute that you've spent on this question type, you're spending too much time on it, just pick whichever one you think is the correct answer. Make a note of the number of the answer so that you can come back to it if you have time afterwards. Pick it, move on, and if you do this, you'll be awesome. And finally, as always, just relax, man. You got this.